guys, Fred Bowler here, the Wildlife Ambassador. And in this episode, episode one, it's about the Florida black bear. So there's going to be a few episodes, and the first one's going to be natural history, including reproduction, and then human bear interactions in the state of Florida, and then the controversial hunt of the Florida black bear. Okay, the natural history of the Florida black bear. It is a subspecies of the American black bear. And in the whole state of Florida, it's estimated that there's about between 3,200 and 3,500 black bears for the whole state. If any of you have ever driven through Florida from one end to the other, it's big. So relatively speaking, there's not a whole lot of black bears. The largest population of them is in central Florida, the northeast region. Now, an interesting note is the largest black bears in the United States are in Florida, second to Pennsylvania, where the United States record black bear comes from. That bear is about 800, I think it was 875 pounds, and the Florida black bear is just shy of 100 pounds less than that, so it's huge. The Florida black bear, I believe, was 760 pounds. And so they get huge, and they don't really meet that rule where animals in the south tend to be smaller than the animals up north. So even though they get big, they're still the smallest species of bear in North America. There's the grizzly bear, and they get huge, over twice the weight of the black bear, then the brown bear, and then the Kodiak bear, which is actually a subspecies of the brown bear, and it gets huge. I don't have any pictures of those. But then everybody's favorite, the polar bear. And we know that humans are on the menu for polar bears. That's been proven. So the black bear is the much more timid of the group. And we'll talk about incidents with human-bear conflict in another episode. But this is what people generally think of when they're thinking about the Florida black bear, smaller bear. This is a 2-year-old. And 2-year-olds are lanky, and that's when they get kicked out of the nest and they have to forage for themselves. So 2-year-old, you're often going to see them with the bigger ears, and they actually grow into their ears as they age. Now, female bears are much smaller than the male bears. The male black bears will get over twice the weight of the females. This is a 135-pound female, and the record in Florida, I believe, is 400 pounds for females. This one had 2 cubs. Collecting data off, I caught her and collecting data off her, and they reach sexual maturity between 3 and 4 years. A normal litter size is 2, but they can have more, even up to 5, but that's very rare. And then, but in here we're working her up to collect data, and then when I release them, I've got to babysit them because they're groggy, and we don't want another bear to come by and kill them. So I get them moving, and then she was on her feet not too long after this picture was taken. And here's a big male bear. He's about 540 pounds. And it's pretty typical of male bears in central Florida to be that big. And you'll read where the average male is 300 pounds, but I tell you, I have caught a lot of 400 pounds and 500 pound bears. So I would say the average is a little higher, at least 400. You can see that big old body and that big old head. And it's interesting to note, too, that I see more females with brown muzzles and males with black muzzles. Although they can have both, but out of my experience, I see a lot of females with brown muzzles. And then moving on to the next picture, this male bear is huge. He's 620 pounds. I caught him. He was actually deemed a nuisance bear, but at this time we relocated him. But 620, It was kind of controversial at the time. The lead biologist really didn't have the time to, he would have been the state record, but he wanted to put him at a lower weight. But I did get, we doubled up on 500-pound scales, and I did get 310 on each scale, even out for a few seconds. But he wanted to put him at a little lower, but hey, I'm going with 620. He was massive. And you can see his massive head and those big round jowls that I'm talking about with males. So different than the female. And you see how his ears look small, but they're actually the same size as the other bears, but that big old head grows into those ears, unlike the females. And massive bear. And he was on his feet. He was actually moving in this picture, swaying back and forth. He was on his feet probably 5 minutes after this picture was taken. Now the next picture is this gorgeous nighttime shot of this female. And you can see what I'm talking about here, the narrow face of females. And that's one way you can pretty much, after you see enough bears, you can pretty much tell by looking at them, whether it's a male or female, if it's a mature bear. Cubs are more difficult to tell because they have the big ears just like the mama, but like a 2-year-old cub. But you see that slender, gorgeous face with those larger ears. And this is a big female, probably around 300 plus. All right, guys, that does it for episode 1 of Natural History of the Florida Black Bear. Please stay tuned for episode 2, and then that'll be followed by, that'll have more biology in it of the Florida black bear, and then there will be reproduction, and then the human bear conflict and the human bear interaction. And then in the future, I've got some cool ones coming up with crocodilians. Doing a big alligator crocodile video, and there should be some exciting footage along with that one. So please like and subscribe, and I really appreciate you guys viewing my channel and subscribing. Y'all have been great. Thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.